There's supposed to be a little fist punch. Are we not doing the fist punch now, Colin? Isn't that your?
I couldn't hear it because of
You
how.
couldn't hear it?
No, because I'm not even plugged into my soundboard for my hearing right now. I'm plugged into my AirPods.
Oh my goodness.
It's all sorts of struggles right now, guys.
It is. It's
Okay.
The struggle is real. And this is Stolendroids podcast. Thank you everybody for being here. I'm Jake.
I'm Colin.
I'm Marley.
And I'm Zonner.
And we're rolling right along. Colin can't hear. I don't know if he'll hear us all night. He's reading our lips.
Oh my gosh.
Would you prefer I do it in sign language? Would that help so you can know how
Yeah,
to
that would actually. I would really appreciate that.
We'll see if we can make that happen.
All right.
Hey guys,
I know how to read sign language.
Yeah. So that'll work out really well.
Yeah.
It's pretty, it's fine.
Yeah, it is.
I know like a
We
couple
should
of
just
words.
get one of your kids to sign the whole episode sometime.
Yeah. Well, they have a
Great.
hearing problem as well, so they wouldn't be able. But theirs isn't soundboard related, but that's okay, Colin.
Oh my.
All right.
It's fine.
It's fine. Yeah. Well, it's been a while, guys. It's been a minute since we've all been together recording, and we're not all together. Zach's not here. We miss him. And because he's not here, we're going to go ahead and talk about one of his favorite shows, because that's the punishment when you don't show up. We pick a favorite subject of yours, and that's what we talk about. So
is that the new punishment? Is
that's the new punishment?
What you're deciding on now?
Yeah, you're not dead. You just don't get
Okay.
to talk about one of your favorite things. So it's fine.
Oh.
All right, that's fine.
Some of us
that-
have FOMO, Jake.
In that case, my favorite thing to talk about, guys, is Teletubbies. So let's make sure that you guys talk about that when I'm gone.
You know, you have mentioned Teletubbies before, so
That's true.
this could be legit.
You've also mentioned the Star Wars holiday special. Oh, no, wait. That's Jake.
No.
Listen. The
do
day
we
that we're
think about
recording
that?
this,
Lego movie.
yeah, they've announced it was announced a couple weeks ago, but they dropped some poster art for the new holiday special that's coming. What was it, November 17th or something like that?
Yes.
For Life Day. I don't know when Life Day actually is, because the calendar in a galaxy far, far away is different than our calendar.
Oh my goodness.
So,
but for your information, November 17th is Life Day.
Is it? Okay. Well, there you
That
go.
makes sense. There you go.
Let me just say this, though. Did you guys look at the poster?
I did.
Yes.
With the hand.
With the hand, and then the little script up above that says, "To Luke from your father."
Uh-huh.
And it's the Lego. Like, that's
It's
dark
so
for a little Lego holiday Star Wars special.
I think it's hysterical.
I think
Amazing, though.
This is going to be awesome. I think
You guys,
they're
can
going
we
to
celebrate Life Day?
Can we celebrate Life Day?
Yeah.
Well, anybody can if you
I
want.
think we should have a Stolendroids Life Day party.
Oh boy. I'm hesitant to say yes to something like that, because we've gotten into trouble with this before, and I don't even want to go there, to be honest. But
keep
Zonner.
my mouth shut. Right
yeah,
now.
I know.
I think we should go there. I don't know where there is, but I kind of want to go there.
I
No,
think
We
what we
invite
need to
Diane
do,
Carroll.
what we need to do is we need to have a Stolendroids watch party and invite everybody who wants to, listeners and everything, to watch this show with us.
The actual holiday special.
The actual holiday special. We've talked so much about this episode that we did of another podcast that I think people need to, and we need to do a podcast episode so Marley can join in the fun as we talk about the holiday special. I hope this one's better than the old one.
Have you ever watched it, Marley?
No.
Oh my gosh.
I'm scared to, though. The way you guys talk about it.
It is literally the worst thing you've ever watched in your life.
No, that's not true.
Oh yeah, Trolls 2.
I thought the movie version of our tonight's topic was the worst movie ever made.
No,
It
the
was
Star
really
Wars
not
holiday
great.
Yeah.
special will give you eye cancer. That's how
Yeah.
bad it is.
Ooh.
Yeah.
The only thing I can think of that's worse, and now's a great time to talk about it. The Halloween Tim Curry song from The Worst Witch you got to YouTube that and look it up because it's fantastic. We'll put a link on our page at some point so everybody can see it. But it's wow, it's bad. It's really bad.
Oh dear.
Yes,
but it's fun bad. It's fun bad. It's not. But let's talk about something that's really great. As long as we don't talk about the movie, and that's Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Yay! The animated series.
Yes, the animated
series.
Yes, that is in every way an anime, except that it wasn't
right.
Actually, an anime. Like, I think there's this whole big what is it? Discussion, controversy of whether or not it is an anime. I don't know.
You know, and I even hashtagged anime in our post advertising this one, and I'm surprised we didn't get any flack for it.
Yeah. Really?
Yeah.
I don't know. I just think some people like. Does it matter? It's just
no. It totally doesn't. It totally doesn't. It's one of those, to me. It's gatekeeping at its best, right? Like, well, if you're a real anime fan, Avatar's not real anime, so you're not a real anime fan or whatever. And it's like, just like what you like. And if you don't like it, then don't like it. But if you like it, whether it's anime or not, it doesn't really matter. So,
well, I mean, you can see the influence that it pulls from anime.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, does it get honorary anime status?
I think it's like Anakin Skywalker, like it's on the anime council, but it's not an anime master.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I can see that.
I love that.
So, okay, so here's the thing with Avatar: Last Airbender. I had heard of this show, and I knew of it, but I had never really sat down and watched any of it until it came to Netflix recently. And I was like, everybody talks about this. I need to check it out. And so that was my first experience. And that was like, since we've been on quarantine. So it's not like it was a long time ago. I was in my late 30s when I discovered Avatar. So I had heard of it. I heard it was great. And when I finally watched it, I was really, really impressed with it. Like, and I enjoyed it way more than I thought I would. One of our friends from the Stolendroids family, Tracy, you can see him on Movies That Make Us every week. He talked about he hasn't seen it because it was after his time. And like, I think this is really one of those shows that you don't have to be a kid to enjoy it, and you don't have to have liked it when you were a kid to pick it up and enjoy it. I don't know. What do you guys think?
It's really a timeless piece. I mean, because if you think about it, the characters in this show are between the ages of 14 to 18.
Mm-hmm.
For at least the main characters. And so you're getting kind of those child aspects, but you're also getting, you know, the Avatar is something to the world, right? He's trying to find himself, and so are the others that are coming along with him, you know, Katara and Toph and Sokka, and really trying to figure out how they fit into this world. And so it's interesting to watch those phases of life for them, because, you know, that comes at any type of age, right? And we've all gone through similar situations and can relate to that.
You know, I find it interesting because, like, I kind of fall under both of those categories that you mentioned, Jake, because I was thinking back. Because I also looked to see when Avatar was released, which was 2005. And I watched it back in 2005. I was 14 at the time. So, I mean, I wasn't like a kid, like a little kid, but I mean, even like as an older teenager, this show was for a younger crowd. But me and my friends were still watching it and enjoying it. And I actually remember having to wait for book 3 to come out, and even like the finale, spoiler alert, when he beats the Fire Lord, you know, I remember having to like wait for that. to come out. And and watching it then, like, I know I enjoyed it. And so there was actually one other time it came to Netflix and then they took it off.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember I was in college at the time and I rewatched it and then they took it off and I was really sad. And then just barely, like a few months ago, they added it back to Netflix. And so I rewatched it again, and it holds up. Even though I've seen it already multiple times, like it's just such a lovable show. And it doesn't matter what age you are, like you can enjoy it.
Yeah, I agree. And it was funny when it came to Netflix this last time, because I don't know that there was really any fanfare for it, right? They just kind of popped it on there and then it was on there. Like, people probably knew, because I know there's people out there like me that I always look for those what's coming to Netflix this month article, and then I read to see what's coming on there. But like, I was kind of surprised when it was there, and then I just started watching it, and like within a week it was like the number one show that was streaming on Netflix. Like, people were way into it.
Yeah.
And I think Netflix was even surprised at how into it people were. And I think it's great. And it does hold up. I've gone back and watched some of these old cartoons that I remember from when I was a kid, and they do not hold up. Like, nothing from the 80s that was animated holds up at all, except maybe some anime. I don't know. I'm not as familiar with anime, but like cartoons like, Voltron, He-Man, all of those like, they don't hold up. Go back and watch an old episode of Masters of the Universe, and you're like, this is literally crap. Yeah. Like, it's flashy and it's got bright colors, and there was nothing else on, so kids loved it, but it doesn't hold up like this does. The story is just so much more intricate and so much more in depth that I think, and it's complex. It's made for kids, but it's also enjoyable for adults too.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I was 30 years old when this came out, and I didn't watch it when it came out. It was probably 5 or 6 years later when I watched it. And I remember thinking, it was a serial cartoon. You didn't get a lot of serial cartoons. I initially avoided it because of the anime style of animation, because I'm not a huge anime fan. I have changed over the years, and I have broadened my palette a bit, so to speak. But I really was, the thing with it, I mean, you talk about how timeless it was and how it's for everybody. I would watch it with my kids, and we would all be enjoyed, or we would all enjoy it. We'd all be enjoyed. We'd all be enjoyed. No, we would all
enjoyed all the time.
Yeah, we'd all be entertained by it, because
whenever I'm around, you're enjoyed.
It's just such a good cartoon. And like you said, Marley, I've gone back and I've watched it multiple times since then, and it does hold up. I dare say that this is the best cartoon probably definitely in the last 15 years, but quite possibly in the last 3 decades, maybe.
And but if you're going to go back 3 decades, was there anything older than 1980 that was any good? Like, that holds up?
I mean, the Flintstones.
Yeah.
Okay, well, so we've got a different definition of what's good.
Oh my goodness. Well, and I think it speaks a lot too that this show could also create a spin-off series, Legend of Korra, that also holds up over time. Like, it's just as good, if not, some people say it's better. You get both. Some people say Avatar is better than Korra and Korra is better than Avatar, but like, I'm kind of in the camp where I'm like, they're different enough that I just love both so much. Well, and Korra, that's a pretty solid series too.
Korra feels like it sheds a lot of the little kiddishness from Avatar. And again, Avatar was definitely, I mean, it was on Nickelodeon. It was made for kids. That was kind of the target audience, but it wasn't like it was still complex enough that you can enjoy it as an adult. Korra doesn't feel like it's really geared toward the kids at all, like Avatar was, which is not a bad thing. Like, I don't have a problem with it. Korra's a little bit older than Aang was. I mean, maturity wise, not actual years, because that whole 100 years where he went missing thing. So but
I don't know though. My kids, I mean, my 10-year-old loves watching Legend of Korra with me.
Yeah.
I just don't think it was initially intended for a younger audience.
It just feels like the style, the animation style looks more grown up. It just feels more grown up.
It feels more mature. It feels like Nickelodeon realized, okay, it's been this many years. The fans of the original series are this many years older. Let's try and cater to them a bit.
Yeah.
That's kind of the sense I get.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think someone else said that in our Stolen Droids chat the other day when we were all talking about Avatar as well. And yeah, it's definitely that thing where, you know, they've aged, and so you know, you kind of want to go back and relive through that, and then it's one of those that's going to continually hit those ages. I really wish that they would do a continuation off of The Last Airbender, though. I would love to see a lot of the things in between, because even in the first episode of Legend of Korra, they tease about Zuko's mom, but then nothing happens.
Yeah, they show like a few flashbacks of things that happened when the kids that we know in Avatar, they're more grown up and more established and trying to make the world better, and they like establish this city and everything. You see like a few flashbacks, but I feel like it still doesn't give us enough. I mean, for goodness sakes, like one thing that upsets me the most about Korra is that in those flashbacks, you see Sokka like once, and then he's never talked about ever again. But you get to see all the other ones because they actually were benders and had like, you know, they use those skills. And I mean, and some of them even show up in the show. But like, here's Sokka, who is such a fun, lovable character, comedic relief from Avatar: The Last Airbender. And he had, you know, some really good character development as well. And then in Legend of Korra, he's like hardly talked about. And you're like, but Sokka, like we love him. So what happened to him? So it would be cool to have like some sort of show or mini series even to kind of show us a little bit more about what those guys have been up to since they were kids, you know?
Yeah. I also got really kind of taken out of Legend of Korra during a couple scenes with General Iroh, because it's the same exact voice actor as Zuko.
Oh.
And so you can hear that voice the whole time, and I'm just like, wait, where's Zuko?
Oh yeah, his is it his son or his grandson?
His grandson.
Grandson. Yeah.
It should be his grandson.
I know, it is cool that they use the same voice actor. I kind of liked it. I thought it was a cool callback.
Yeah, it's interesting.
So let's go ahead, Zoner.
Colin, I'm going to be that guy right now that says, well, actually, there are comics.
It wouldn't be an episode if you weren't that guy at least once, Zoner.
I know.
And,
so yeah, they actually do have
comics. I just don't want to buy the comics.
I know. And you know, it's cool that they got comics, but I'm with you. I would much rather see another series. I want to see that gap because there's a lot there. There's a lot that takes place.
Yeah.
And I would love to see how they get from point A to point B, where we've got Korra busting through the wall saying, I'm the Avatar, deal with it. I think that would be really neat to see, but it looks like we're stuck with just the comics, unfortunately.
You know, a lot of fans of the Lord of the Rings trilogy said they really wanted to see The Hobbit and see what happened before. And, they'd read the book, but they wanted to see it on the screen. And then look what happened. So you might get what you wish for, Colin, and then you might not want it anymore.
Yeah,
it might
be careful
crap.
what we wish for.
Taking it back.
Oh my goodness.
Well, I mean, I wished for another holiday special, and we're getting that. So.
Oh my gosh.
I'm telling that's your last warning. You bring it up one more time and you're out of the show like, for the rest of the night.
Oh my gosh.
So let's talk about Avatar and kind of where it begins, the characters and how they develop, because I think that's one of the things that really draws fans and keeps them in is the character development of each of the main heroes and the villains and everything. Because really, when you look at Zuko is a great example. You look at where Zuko is at the beginning of the series compared to where he ends up, and it's a huge change, but it happens so organically and over time that you're fine with it, right?
Yeah.
Iroh goes from being you're not really sure what you think about him to like being your favorite character, because I assume he's everybody's favorite character. He's not. I know. It's fine.
He's not my favorite, but I do love him.
Yeah.
He's in my top 3, I'd say.
Yeah.
I think most people love him.
I mean, if we're going to talk about the episode Tales of Bossing Say, like, get your tissues ready because that is such a good Uncle Iroh episode. Oh my goodness. It's so cute.
Yes. But I love the character development. I think Zuko is probably my favorite character arc in the whole series because of who he is, where he starts, and where he ends up. So let's talk a little bit about Zuko, because I know that Marley, you're here for that.
I do love me some Prince Zuko. I mean, I think when we talked about our cartoon crushes like forever ago, I think I mentioned him. I know I did. He starts out to be, he's such an angsty teenager. He got banished from, well, not really banished. He's just, did he get banished? It's more just like asked to leave forcefully, and he's just not really allowed back home.
He was kind of pretty much banished.
Yeah.
It's like, because he's like the crown prince, they're not going to call it banished, but it's kind of basically what happened.
But they're basically like, you're not valued here and we don't want you here, so go do something else. And so he does.
On this impossible journey.
Yeah, and he's just like, well, I want to regain my honor. I must regain my honor. He's all about that, and he figures, oh, the Avatar's back? Oh, you know what? If I capture him and bring him to my dad, the Fire Lord, I will regain favor in his eyes. And so he just sets out on this mission, and he's the main antagonist for quite a while in the show. It's really not until season 2 or book 2, when they get to Bossing Say, that's when we start to kind of see a different version. He starts to kind of be a little more humbled and realize that, you know what, I'm going to try to do something else because I'm kind of accepting my fate, until I don't know how much we really want to go into this, but like, wow, I should have mentioned this when we were talking on our, when we were talking about favorite moments, because here's a favorite moment I just thought of. The moment when he's in Bossing Say and he realizes that the Avatar is trying to find Appa because Appa was taken away from him. And he sets out and goes and like tries to find him. And he does, and he leads the Avatar to Appa and like helps him get him back. And I just like, I think when I rewatched it just recently, I think I like cried in that moment just because it was so sweet. But I think even in that moment too, Aang was like, wait, you just did something nice for me. Like, yeah, this is weird, but I'm also confused. But then they don't really, it's just really kind of an awesome moment.
Well, I think that's the thing about Zuko is even when he's the quote unquote villain, and he is, right? I mean, he's trying to hunt down the
Yes.
Avatar and bring him back and everything else. But even when he's at that point, his motives are pretty solid. I mean, he wants to regain his honor. He wants to show that he, has worth and has value. And he's not just hunting the Avatar down to like prove that he can. He's not just hunting the Avatar down to do it. He's doing it for like a reason that really isn't. I mean, I think most teenagers at some point you're like, well, I want to prove, whether it's I'm going to rebel and show my parents that I know what's up, or I'm going to try even harder at this to show my parents I know what's up. Like there's a certain point that you hit as a teenager where you're like, I need to show my parents that I can achieve this, that I can do whatever, that I can, that I'm capable, I'm grown up, I'm mature, whatever you want to look at. And I feel like that's what he's really going through as we find him at the beginning, is that whole, like, I've got to show my dad that I'm a man, that I know what I'm doing. And I think that even as he's a bad guy, it's not really for bad reasons as much as it's just what every teenager goes through. And it makes him a much more human and much more likable villain. And as he turns, towards the end, and decides to help the Avatar in the last book, like it's not that hard to accept that, because you've seen his journey from the beginning and realize he wasn't ever really a bad guy. He was just, misguided.
Yeah, except we as the audience might be easy to accept it, but
Sure.
but Team Avatar, they were like, no, and they pushed him away. They're like, no, like, yes, we realize that Aang needs to learn firebending and he needs to master his skills at firebending, and here somebody walks in saying, I will teach you firebending, like, I'm a master, and they're like, no, not you. Mm-mm.
Yeah.
They,
I mean, except for Katara, who was like totally on board with it from the beginning.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
Zutara forever.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my gosh. But they give him a chance, and I think that's also a really redeeming quality of Team Avatar. That they are like, okay, fine, we don't really trust you, but we'll give you a chance, and he does redeem himself. He does. And he gains their favor.
Yeah, and I mean, he goes on all these side missions with them, all except for Toph, and Toph's so pissed off that she didn't get her moment.
Yes, that's such a good. Oh, I love that.
I love Toph.
I think Toph is one of the most entertaining characters. I mean, everybody loves Uncle Iroh, but Toph, just this little firebrand with an attitude, and I mean, she's just fun. Everything about her is just fun.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, she doesn't take anybody's crap.
No, and I mean, it's one of those things where you kind of can't take everyone's crap, right? Because you've been underestimated your entire life, and hidden from everyone around you, not allowed to leave your estate, and people are just like, oh wait, the two parents of her have a daughter? What?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like, to go from being completely hidden, not having any friends, just having these guards watch you all the time, and then developing yourself and your skills, even though your parents want to hold you back, but you keep going forward.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, and she becomes, like, she's the best earthbender and then metal bender that has ever existed.
Freaking metal bending.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah, she's one of my favorite characters, for sure, and I love her relationship with Aang, and she's just so opposite of him, right? Because he's silly and goofy, but like he tries to be calm, he tries to be collect, and she's like not at all like that. And she's always yelling at him, and it's fun.
Goodness.
And honestly, like, it's cool to see a main character who is blind, right?
Mhm.
Because I'm a big believer in representation is important for individuals with disabilities. I think it's important for everybody, but I think that's one thing in pop culture and mainstream culture that gets underrepresented a lot is
Mhm.
individuals with disabilities, especially, blind, deaf, wheelchair bound, whatever the case might be. I think it's great to see that. And she's just a fun character as a result. I do think one of my favorite parts with her is when they're going to the play on the island
Oh,
and they're
the
watching the whole
Ember
story.
Island players. Oh my gosh.
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah. And like when they tell her what she looks like in the play, she's like, awesome.
the scar is on the wrong side.
That's exactly what I want to be.
Oh my goodness. And then Aang's a girl. Oh my goodness. That's a quality episode.
That's one of my favorites. Well, and it's a great episode. Honestly, you could watch that episode and it catches you up on everything that's happened up to that point in the series.
That's true.
Not well, but kind of.
Yeah.
So,
oh goodness.
but so I feel like with Zuko and Aang, you kind of get towards the end, you almost get two antagonists as you're seeing their stories and you're seeing their kind of everything unwrap, unwind. And I think that's really interesting. But what about, you've got Sokka, you've got Katara, right? Yeah.
Katara.
Yeah. Let's talk about them and their relationship and their development over the course of the series. So, because Sokka, he starts out as kind of being really, like you mentioned, he's really fun,
Mhm.
but he's almost to the point where he's just really silly. And then at the end, like, he's a serious warrior ready to fight with the Water Nation against the Fire Nation. And how does that develop over time?
Well, I think Sokka, we see early on that, like, in his water tribe, there's not that many, like, a lot of the men have gone off because they're helping fight. And so he's kind of taken over, like, that paternal role of the tribe. And so he feels there's a lot of responsibility on him. There's a lot riding on him, even though he's a young kid still. I imagine Sokka's like 14, maybe 15 years old. That's kind of how I imagine him to be. And that's still pretty young.
Yeah.
Even in this world, and, he just has so much responsibility on him and he's still trying to, like, prove himself too. And so you kind of see along the way, like, even you see him mature as well. And I like that too, and he develops his skills, because even though he's not a bender, and you can definitely tell he feels left out, but he's like, you know what, I can learn other skills. And so he tries to, like, learn how to fight and everything too. So he tries to, make up for it, because even though all his best friends are benders.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and he goes and he finds himself the sword master, right? While they're in the Fire Nation, which is great to see that, but it's also a different kind of, like, montage, right? It still showcases his super silly side as he's going through this, very, very serious training, and he doesn't lose, like, his true self as he's going through these changes. One of the what was it? He was told to do something, like, with one of the rocks, and then all of a sudden he comes out and makes this rock become this cushy bench of moss for him to just sit back and relax on, and then orders the butler to do something, and then the butler kind of looks at the master, and the master just agrees with Sokka and is just like, yeah, go get us this.
Yeah. Well, in that episode, it's great because, he feels like he's a failure at the end because he can't get the sword stuff down the way that he feels like the master wants him to.
Yeah.
And he ends up telling him, well, no, but, like, that's what makes you so special, is you see things differently and you do things differently. And that's kind of a theme that runs throughout the series, right? Like what makes these characters so special is the same thing that makes any of us special, is our individuality and the different skills and talents that we bring. We don't have to be just like everybody else, but we can be who we are. And that's what really sets you apart in a crowd. And I like that.
I do have to say, though, some of the best moments from the show come from Sokka.
Oh, absolutely.
He has some of the funniest quotes. Like, it's really funny when he gets high on cactus juice and he starts hallucinating, and he's like, "It's a giant mushroom," and his arms are like all wavy, and like he's just freaking out. He's just totally tripping. It's so funny. Or I love the part too where it's kind of back to Zuko, when him and Zuko go on their little trip together and they're kind of, catching up. And so Sokka's like, "Well, my first girlfriend turned into the moon." And Zuko's like, "That's rough, buddy." It's just kind of funny. It's like, oh,
so sad.
that's rough. He doesn't know how to like respond to that.
Yeah, I mean, what can you say? What can you say? Oh yeah, well, that's too bad.
It's just so good. I love it.
So, I like the episode where they go to the island. That was where the avatar, the Earthbender avatar, that was 2 before Aang lived, right?
Oh,
Kyoshi, yeah.
Yeah.
Kyoshi, and there's the Kyoshi warriors there.
Mm.
And he, at first is like, "Oh, I got beat up by a girl," and then he trains with them and he learns from them, and then he dresses like them in the battle, and he says he's dressed like a warrior or whatever. So my youngest daughter, came in and she saw him dressed like that, and she was like, "Why is he dressed like a girl?" And my son had been watching it, and he's like, "Him not dressed like a girl, him dressed like a warrior." Like, okay.
Yes.
Like, well, why not both? But that's fine.
Oh, that's amazing.
But
well, and our own Stephanie from the Stolendroids Network, she commented earlier on our Facebook post, and she said, "I also really like Sokka's development from making fun of the female Kyoshi warriors to dressing up as them and honoring their teachings." And then she did #wholesome masculinity.
Yeah. Yep.
It's true though. He really had to kind of humble himself.
Yep. And he is like, he is wholesomely masculine at the end of the show. There's definitely in the beginning where you're like, okay, the guy's a pig, but he's also a teenage boy. And I'll be honest, most teenage boys suck as far as like, well, everything. But as far as like relations with girls, they just are not good most of the time.
Mm-hmm.
But he figures it out, and I love that it kind of shows, and he figures out how wrong he is, So
Well,
I like that wholesome
an
masculinity.
Wasn't there an episode where he told Katara, women do the cooking and men go and do the hunting, or women are better at sewing pants, or something like that?
Yeah, it's like the first episode, because he tears his pants or something like that.
Yeah, and then I mean, it's very obvious. We know where this kid stands. He's the warrior. He thinks that it's his job to go out and be the warrior and do the hunting and do the fighting, and the women need to stay back at camp and sew pants.
And Katara's like, no.
Yeah.
Boy, please. I am a waterbender.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, Katara's pretty great too. Isn't she voiced by Mae Whitman, isn't she? Mae Whitman she's a fantastic voice actress. But yeah, Katara, you kind of see her from the beginning too. Like, she's kind of like this like mother of the group, she really just wants to like make sure everyone's okay, everyone's happy, everyone's doing good. Just kind of taking care of everybody. And I think over time too, like, especially as more stuff comes at the group, she kind of realizes that she can't control everything. that she kind of has to realize, you know what, some things are out of my control and we just kind of have to go with it a little more. So, I mean, I think you see Katara kind of realize too, like she grows up a little bit from that, and she doesn't need to control every situation.
Right.
Yeah, and we see that a lot when Toph initially gets brought in. And
Toph is the wild card.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And at first she's just like, I don't want to help anyone build a tent. I'm pulling my own weight. You guys can pull your own weight too. This doesn't have to be a team effort, right? And Katara getting growingly more annoyed every single time because they haven't slept. They keep running from Azula and trying to get out of their grasps. And I think it was Azula that was chasing him then.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah, because Appa's hairs were like falling off and leaving trails and yeah, and so you see that difference in her as she's trying to accept these changes within the group and trying to get more and more familiar with Toph and develop that relationship.
Exactly.
And it is Mae Whitman that does the voice of Katara. And if you guys want to listen to a fun discussion about Mae Whitman and the other voices she does, you should listen to the latest side mission from Cutscenes and Cupcakes.
Oh yeah, we
just
did.
Came out this week.
We did mention her. Huh.
You did. So, or the mission.
Yes, it's our spooky series side missions.
Yes.
Or Stephanie's spooky series side mission. Yeah. That's where the extra S.
I like that she threw her name in there just to make sure. You had to get that extra S.
Yeah, she does that.
So it makes it sound like you have a stutter.
Yeah, who names things after themselves? That's weird.
I'm trying to think who he's making fun of right now.
He's making fun of himself. Remember his panel, the Skywalker? Rise of the Skywalker panel?
I mean, technically you named it that, but...
Yeah, I was going to say I named it that, but it was awesome. And don't think that we won't do it again for Utah Remote Con 2. There will be a con something.
Yes, I'm excited.
So Aang is one of my favorite characters, obviously. I mean, he's the main character. Speaking of naming stuff after yourself, because the show's named after him. I love the way that his story goes, and I especially love when he has to face off against the Fire Lord, because leading up to that, he is counseling with the other avatars, the previous avatars, and asking them what he needs to do, and they're all basically giving him the same answer, like, "Oh, you're gonna have to kill him. Like, there's no other way to stop him." And he has been raised in this monastery where he values all life, and he doesn't want to do that. And he's trying to figure out how he can make those two things reconcile, like his honoring all life, but at the same time stopping the Fire Lord. And like, I just love that episode where it's leading up to him getting ready to fight the Fire Lord, and he's got to figure out what he's going to do because everybody's telling him, well, this is what you need to do. And honestly, you're like, well, yeah, you got to kill the Fire Lord. He's a bad guy. But like, Aang sticks by his guns, in a metaphorical sense, obviously. And he finds a way to beat him without killing him. And again, I think the story there is, you've got to do it your own way. You've got to find your own way in the world and be your own person.
Exactly. I know Aang is he's a really fun character because he does have those awesome moments throughout the show where he's just goofy and silly and he just has fun with whatever, situation they're in. But he also knows like when it's time to like take charge and protect them, from whatever is, maybe there's somebody attacking them or whatever it may be, he's a friend to everybody too. Like he makes friends. He made a lot of friends along the way. I mean, he kind of had to, but because he's the Avatar. I mean, that's kind of the burden of the Avatar too, is that they want to be liked by everybody.
Yeah.
But it is pretty cool. I do like, it's fun to watch his journey and because he's a young Avatar. You know, literally before he got frozen in ice for 100 years, he had just found out that he was the Avatar. So he never had any chance to learn waterbending, firebending, earthbending, you know, the other elements and stuff. So it's just a really amazing journey that we get to go on with him as he seeks out a waterbending master and then an earthbending and then eventually a firebending, you know, so he can finally master all the skills that he needs to. It's just kind of cool just to like be there along there with him.
Yeah. It's funny when you look at his final battle with the Fire Lord, which is epic and amazing and beautiful. And you compare it to like one of the first episodes again on the island where Kyoshi was from. And he's like, yeah, I'm the Avatar. He's like, want to see something cool? And he like does this little trick where there's a little ball of air like circling around there. Like, wow, that's amazing. Like, it's the easiest, dumbest thing ever. But like to see him go from that to where he is at the end is pretty amazing. And it's a fun journey. I don't know what happened with his son though, because he doesn't seem like he was fun at all in Legend of Korra. Like, no, he's not silly or funny or like,
which is weird because in one of the episodes that I'm watching right now, I'm like in season 2 of it. They talk about how he went on all these trips with his father, but the brothers and sisters didn't. And they were talking about he was saying all these like fun things and but literally like no one else did them, and he just seems like a completely dry person.
Well, and I think for me at least, what I see is because he's the only airbender from that family, you know, until he eventually gets married and has offspring. But initially, he's the only other airbender, so I think there's just a lot of responsibility riding on him, and he feels that sense of duty.
Yeah, I think he feels very burdened by that.
And so, like, I could see that humor kind of being, you know, pushed aside a little bit because he's so focused on being the best airbender that he can be to live up to his dad's legacy as an airbender.
Yeah.
What is his name? I'm like totally
it's Tenzin.
Tenzin, thank you. I'm like, what is his name? But I really like Tenzin though. As you guys watch more of Legend of Korra, you'll get to know Tenzin more, and he's actually a really cool guy. So just keep watching Korra.
I think I'm in season 4 right now, so I'm getting close to the end.
Oh, you are.
But yeah, I'm among those that I think I enjoy Legend of Korra more than The Last Airbender.
Okay.
More than Avatar. And I mean, I've already said that I think Avatar is one of the greatest cartoons of the last 30 years. But personally, I think I enjoy watching Legend of Korra a lot more. And I tried watching it when it was originally on Nickelodeon, and I just couldn't get into it. But watching it now, and I see so many parallels with what's going on in our world today with what happens in the cartoon. It's just really, really hitting home with me. I like it a lot.
Yeah, it's good. It's a good thing they put it on Netflix. Because after they put Avatar: The Last Airbender on Netflix, and everyone's like, "Oh, you gotta watch Legend of Korra now," you know, especially to all those people who just watched Avatar for the first time.
Yeah,
and I'm like, well, I think it's on Amazon Prime, like, but
it was like piecemeal. You had to find it in like a couple of different places until it was on Netflix.
And then they finally brought it to Netflix, which was such a good idea. Because, and I also enjoyed rewatching it because I've only seen the show once through back when it was first airing. So to me, it was enjoyable to be able to binge it.
Yeah. So speaking of Netflix, supposedly in development is a live action Avatar: The Last Airbender series. which will be fun because it'll be the first time that we'll see these characters in live action because they've never been filmed that way ever before. And that's what we're going to say, and we're sticking with that story.
You guys, there's this really cool movie. I don't know if you guys know about it.
No,
it's called the Star Wars Holiday Special.
Oh my God.
That's it. That's your last time. I told you.
No!
I told you. All right. Well,
I
miss Colin.
I don't know what movie you're talking about, and I definitely didn't cosplay to the opening night of it either as Fire Lord. Oh, wrong pointing. Which way am I pointing? As Fire Lord Azula. I definitely didn't cosplay.
Yeah. Well, but to be fair, you didn't know what it was going to be yet until you saw it. You thought it was going to be amazing.
And for the record, Stephanie cosplayed as Katara. Just saying.
Yeah. Well, and you watch the movie, and we don't have to talk about the movie in a lot of detail, but like it was intended to be 4 movies. Like they were going to do the other 3, and then it sucked so bad.
They couldn't even get the name pronunciation right.
Oh.
Yeah.
And I'm very nervous about the Netflix series because the live action movie was so bad. Well, I can't imagine it's going to be worse, but we've already seen it get completely effed up. I don't know.
I think after M. Night Shyamalan's fiasco of it, I mean, there's literally nothing about the series that is in that movie. Like he completely rewrote it, basically.
It's terrible.
I mean, yeah, there's pieces. It's just not good.
No,
he just didn't adapt it well. So I think the series, there's a lot of promise for it because they had a lot of the original creators involved with the series, a couple of key creators, but they have, from what I understand, left the series now because Amazon's ruining Lord of the Rings. Netflix is working on ruining.
That's a different topic for another day.
Yeah, we can talk about that later.
That's next week.
But Netflix, they wanted to bring in some actors that were some white actors basically to play some of these roles, and the creators of the show, the original series, were like, no, they need to be like, that's the whole point of this show. When you watch the show, they all look Asian, and I mean that was kind of the whole that it takes part in that part of the world, right? In this world that it takes place in. And so that's what they wanted, and Netflix was like, well, this is what we're going to do. And so they've left the show. So now I'm really concerned because they had some of the original creativity behind the series there, and now that seems to have gone away because of decisions that Netflix is making. So
I know, it's like making me not excited for it, to be honest.
Yeah. And I think a lot of fans feel the same way.
Like, I'll watch a trailer, and I guess if it looks okay, I'll give the show a chance, but I don't really care. You know, it's just.
I think they're going to get Millie Bobby Brown to play Aang. Batista's going to play Toph.
Oh my gosh,
it'll be perfect.
You know, I think though that a lot of fans are kind of on the fence right now about this because of the reasons that have been mentioned. But I think ultimately, once it hits, they're going to watch, and then they're going to take to the internet, and they're going to either say how amazing it is, or they are going to light it up.
Yeah. I think you're only saying that because that's what everybody does with everything anymore nowadays.
Well, fans. That is true, but no, I
agree. I
think that the fans are going to watch it. It's like a Star Wars movie. They're gonna go.
Yeah, I think so. I think there will be people that will check it out because they are fans. I mean, they're the same people that would go and cosplay at the movie when it came out because you're excited to see it.
Yeah,
and even if it's a disappointment, it doesn't take away from your excitement when you're first going to see it. And I think when it first comes on, I think people will watch it, but I think it'll dwindle pretty quickly. And I if it's not good. Now, if it's good,
Yes.
it's a different story, but we'll have to wait and see.
I mean, it's still going to be a while before it even comes out, right?
Yeah, like it's just in development right now. I don't even
Yeah.
think they've really cast anybody. I don't think they've started shooting or anything. And obviously right now everything is slowed down because it's just hard to get people together to make a movie or a show. So
Yep.
Let's close by just kind of going around favorite character and why from the series. And we'll start with you, Marley. Just because you're to my whatever side you're on.
Yeah. I always have to like think about it. I'm like, okay. So there's so many good characters as we've already talked about, but I am going to choose Prince Zuko. And I know I already talked about him a little bit earlier, but there's one more thing I wanted to touch on about him. So I'm glad we can bring it up. And that is the moment that he, at the very end of the show, when he faced Uncle Iroh, and he just came to him and was just like, I am sorry. I'm so sorry for everything. And Uncle Iroh was just like, it's cool. And he just like brings him in for a hug, and it's just like such a sweet, sweet moment, because there you can like actually see like Zuko is capable of change, and also like he can be forgiven, even by some of the people who are closest to him. And there was a part earlier in the show that he really dissed Iroh pretty bad. And so he needed to make nice with him, and so it was just a really, really nice moment. There's so many sweet moments with Zuko that you get to see throughout the whole show that just keeps pointing to his development and just becoming a good guy.
Yeah, that moment that you're talking about with Uncle Iroh is probably one of the most powerful moments in any series like ever. Like it's just incredible. Brandon, one of our listeners, mentioned it on one of our Facebook posts, that was one of his favorite scenes, and it's one of mine for sure. Like that moment, you're just like, yeah, this show is incredible. So
so touching.
Colin?
I'm gonna have to go with Prince Zuko as well. He just had this incredible story arc and redemption. And there was one scene in particular, I think it was in what episode was it? Bitter Work, where Iroh is teaching him the way to be able to redirect lightning. Right, and then tells him, and then Iroh refuses to actually shoot lightning at him, so he can try to redirect it, and basically says, "You're just going to have to trust yourself when you do it for the first time, but here's how you do it." And so he goes and runs up to this mountaintop. And is just, basically screaming at the skies, saying, "Strike me down, hit me, come on, I can, I can take it." I think, what was it? He said, "You've never held back before." And so he's coming down with all these moments, just kind of feeling at his absolute worst. And then, the next phase that we start rolling into is seeing him become this other person and really, again, finding himself.
Awesome. Zoner, what about you?
I'm going with Uncle Iroh. The dude is just, he's strong. He's wise.
He makes good tea.
He loves tea. I love good tea. But he was such a mentor to Zuko, And he really kind of mentored everyone, anyone who came in contact with him. That mentorship just kind of came naturally to him. And you look at some of the quotes that the guy had throughout the series. I mean, stuff like, pride is not the opposite of shame, but its source. True humility is the only antidote to shame. There's nothing wrong with letting people who love you help you. If you look for the light, you can often find it. But if you look for the dark, that is all you'll ever see. I mean, that is deep, profound wisdom there. And to have that in a cartoon character of all things, you wouldn't expect that. That's not like Bugs Bunny from the 1940s. That is like meaningful life lesson stuff. And that's why I love Uncle Iroh. Everything that the guy said and did was an example that we can take into our own lives.
Yeah. Uncle Iroh is probably my favorite as well. I think there's so much about personal redemption, about personal growth, about centering yourself on what's really important. Knowing his history as this great general, and the havoc that he caused and the things that he did, but like he was older than the Fire Lord, but was looked over for becoming the Fire Lord because he wasn't as ruthless, he wasn't as merciless. And like you look at, he lost everything in his life, his son, his family, all of that, but he kept going. And I think he always looked at Zuko as a way to kind of get his son back in a way.
Yeah.
And the moment in the series where Zuko kind of betrays him and he ends up in prison in the Fire Nation, and he's just broken. He's broken because Zuko turned his back on him, basically. Like that was his last hope. And when he finds out that there's still hope for Zuko, and he starts then exercising you get kind of that Rocky moment where he's like,
freaking buff as heck.
Yeah.
Right. I sometimes think I could pull off Iroh most of the time, but then when he starts working out, I'm like, nope, we have two very different body types. He's got muscles that I don't think I have, but like he just keeps going, and he just has that hope, and the influence that he has. Really, where you look at Legend of Korra and you look at the city that's grown up, and the technology that they've got and the advancements that they made because of Aang as the Avatar, he wouldn't be that successful if Iroh hadn't. If he hadn't raised Zuko the way that he had, if he hadn't had the influence on Zuko that he had, and the friendship that develops between Zuko and Aang and all of that. So I just think Iroh's he's just my favorite. And he's just awesome. So everyone should watch the series.
Can I do an honorable mention super quick?
Yes, of course.
So I have to do an honorable mention of my namesake here, Azula.
Yes, Azula.
Real quick. I do love her because she is a crazy villain. Like, because especially as we've talked about, like, Zuko has kind of changed over the series, but like Azula, she becomes like the main antagonist of the series.
Yeah.
And she is scary. And I think it's interesting to point out that her ultimate demise was herself.
Yes.
She went crazy all on her own. And that kind of helped, there was that crazy the Agni Kai with Zuko and like that whole thing. Of course, that was important, but like ultimately she brought herself down. And I think it's just really interesting to show like how crazy of a villain that she really is. And also she didn't need to die either. Like, yeah, she probably, she was crazy and needed to be put down, but like, I think she's also a good example of someone to show mercy to, just like Aang did to the Fire Lord. But she's just cool. I just like her. She's kind of fun and quirky throughout the series, and she has these two girls, Mae and Tylee, who follow her around with like no question. It's just they're just so great. I like that trio.
Yeah. That the whole couple of episodes that they have where they're on the beach, like they're just weird episodes to me because they're angsty teenagers the whole time, and it's just like for like this one little story arc, it becomes a CW teenage drama show instead of the Avatar. Anyway,
Avatar meets Dawson's Creek.
Yeah.
And they go to that party and it's all awkward. And then Azula throws a fit, and then they leave.
Yeah, the party scene was awesome. You kind of almost start feeling bad for them because they are so socially awkward, but then you remember that they're really awful people for the most part. So,
oh goodness.
But we want to thank everybody for listening. If you have comments that you want to add about your favorite characters, favorite moments, favorite episodes from the series, please do that in the comments below or by sending an email to
feedback@stolendroids.com.
feedback@stolendroids.com. Thanks, Colin. I'm glad you're here. Otherwise, we can't give out the email address.
So welcome.
I don't know
what you guys did last time.
We didn't even mention it.
We forgot we even had an email, to be honest.
What's email?
If you want to check out Avatar: The Last Airbender, which is, if you were to buy the box set, the DVD box set or the Blu-ray box set, there would be a quote from Zahner that clearly says, "The best animated series since the Flintstones." You can check it out on Netflix right now. Make sure you binge watch it and let us know what you thought about it if it's your first time going through, because I think it's pretty incredible. And if you have a suggestion for a show, let us know. Again, feedback@stolendroids.com. Right?
Yeah, I think that's what it was. Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Right.
You did it.
Email.
Thanks for listening, everybody, and go drink some tea and hug your favorite uncle in honor of Avatar: The Last Airbender.
And don't forget to watch the holiday special.
Correct. Social media. Here we are. Thanks for listening.